What's up guys, Trem here. This video is the AOR Hungarian Grand Prix. Due to a technical difficulty, I've had to do it in a slightly different format this week. Now what I normally do is I just run the race and then I save the video clip at the end of it, because that seems to give me a better quality in video than just streaming directly to YouTube itself. What I actually had to do during the race yesterday was open up the menu to adjust the volume on my headset. What I didn't realize at the time is that actually crops the video down, and it only starts then recording from the point when I close the menu. So the video I was hoping would be the full race only turned out to be the final 11 or so laps. So I'm going to have to do it a little bit differently this week. What you're watching at the moment is the highlights package that F1 2019 itself puts together, which is 2.5 minutes of probably the most boring parts of the race. I couldn't have picked a worse race to have a technical difficulty, because it was really quite intense. Literally the last couple of corners decided pretty much from second place down to 8th, because we had a safety car that came out with 5 laps to go. So I'm going to try and summarize what happened. Qualifying, well, we had 14 runners and I was pretty much last on the grid. I did my banker lap on the hard tyres, and then on the in lap I was trying to do a different approach to the fast left-hander at the start of sector 2, just to see if it gained me any time. And what I actually did was put the car in the wall and completely destroyed it. So my only representative time in qualifying was a really slow, I can't even remember what the exact time was now, but it was on the hard tyre, and it was nowhere near as quick as I could go. But starting from last on the grid obviously gave me free tyre choice. But before I get to the race, let me just show you what the starting grid itself was for the Hungarian Grand Prix. So starting from last on the grid, I started on the medium tyre and was going to make a single stop and switch to the hard tyre, because that seemed to be the optimum strategy in this race. You can probably see a couple of guys there on the soft tyres, so they're going to stop slightly earlier but then try and push the hards towards the end of the race. You can just see me right at the back there, bringing up the rear. I deliberately held back a little bit at the start, just hoping there'd be a few instants ahead of me. As you can see, going into the first corner, Deng just getting down the inside of me, so I'm currently last. But you can see Ali Rocks in the Haas there having an incident, and I think that pretty much put him out of contention. I think he actually retired midway through the race. But the first part of the race was not that eventful. I mean, a couple of guys had spins on the long right-hander in Sector 2 and in the Twisty S section, so I did make up a couple of places. I think Rafa Kamina and Ginit actually had spins. I came in slightly later than everybody else to put on the hard tyres, because I started on fresh mediums. I think I was actually in P3 when I made my pit stop. I came out on the hards in P9, but I knew there was a couple of guys ahead of me that were running on very worn hard tyres. Both Metzer and Fatality had pitted early because they started on soft tyres, so their hards were a good 15 laps old at this point. And my teammate TNR Ule pitted at the end of lap 1 to change his front wing, so he was running very old hard tyres. So there was a chance to make up 3 places if I could get the hammer down and get the quick laps in. I did catch and pass Metzer a few laps after pitting. He then subsequently crashed and retired. So I was running in P8 when, with 5 laps to go, Fct-thebest he was in a train of cars behind my teammate, and I think he just got a bit out of shape on the exit of turn 1 and he crashed. But that actually brought out the safety car with 4.5 laps to go. So everyone bar, I think, Fatality and Total P's came in and fitted brand new soft tyres for the last 3 laps. The field was obviously all bunched together. A couple of guys got very silly penalties behind the safety car, which have screwed up the results a little bit. So they're going to be provisional at this stage and probably going to change. But the safety car did peel off with 2 laps to go. So we had 2 laps of basically pure sprint racing to determine the final standings. However, Andreas in P2 in the Williams was carrying front wing damage, so it meant Sam Saunders in the lead pretty much pulled away from us all quite quickly and then went on to win the race quite comfortably. But the battle from P2 for the rest of the points playing positions was pretty much chaos. There were several collisions, and a couple of guys did have accidents on the last lap. Deng and Rafa, I think, were victims of that. But I think in terms of myself, I was making my way through the group of cars that were bunched together behind the safety car. I did pass Deng and Total P's, but I think trying to pass Rafa in sector 3 on the last lap, I just touched the back of his car coming out of the S section, and that unfortunately sent me into a spin and put me in the wall, and I had to settle then for finishing as the last classified runner in P7, what it eventually ended up being. So came away with 6 points. My teammate TNR Ule came 4th, but that's likely to be put up to P2 if he has his penalty successfully overturned. But Sam Saunders was basically too quick for us all today. Although he won the race by some 10 seconds, truth be told, if the safety car hadn't come out, he would have won easily by over half a minute. So it was a good drive for Sam, but from my own personal point of view, coming home P7, considering I started last, no, I'll take it, but I had the pace today to compete, certainly with the higher midfield runners. So, and especially when the safety car came out, I was really hoping I could at least push for a podium, if not finish in the top 5. But at the end of the day, P7 is what it is, and I'll take that and move on to the next race in Belgium next week, where hopefully I should have the technical issues sorted and I'll be able to return to my normal format for these videos. So this is how the race finished, but these results are only provisional. They are likely to switch around a bit once certain drivers get their penalties removed. One thing that is for certain is that Sam did win quite easily, and that fastest lap of 1:17.7 was pretty much run under qualifying conditions once the safety car came in with rich and hot laps. So he collects maximum points. Andreas classified as P2 at the moment, although with TNR Ule's penalty likely to get removed, he's probably going to have to settle for P3. And that does bump Heavy T off the podium down into P4. But given that he was the last runner when we were all bunched up behind the safety car in P9, I think he'll be happy with P4. Fatality managed to avoid getting passed by everybody once the safety car came in on very worn, hard tyres, and he takes P5. Total P's is another one that might have a penalty removed for collision behind the safety car, but don't think it will change his position. Then me as the last classified runner in P7, and Rafa Kamina, or Blux as you can see there, and Deng are classified and collect points because they completed 90% of the race distance. FCT unfortunately just fell out of the 90% bracket, so he isn't classified. Ali Rox and Metzer had accidents by themselves and retired. And Ginit and OFM came together after OFM had a spin and reversed back onto the track and unfortunately took out the Racing Point driver, which led to both of those guys retiring. So the Drivers' Championship after that race, again, these are only provisional and are likely to change a little bit, but Total P's is still leading the championship, currently by 12 points, but if Ule's penalty is rescinded, then he will only have a 6-point lead, I think, if my maths is right, from the Toro Rosso driver. Andreas in third is some 33 points adrift, but it's likely to increase slightly as he's probably going to lose 3 points again with that result change. OFM still holding on in fourth, despite a run of, I think it's 4 races in a row now where he's had unfortunate incidents. But the gap behind him to quite a big chasing pack has really come down. Obviously, Ginit just a point behind, Fatality 2 points behind him. Heavy T currently on 69 points, but again, once the penalty removals kick in and that changes the results, I think he will drop to 66, which means there's 4 drivers there separated by a point just over halfway through the season. FCT a little bit further adrift. Sam Saunders, 2 races, 2 wins. He could still have a say in this championship fight yet. If he carries on racing the way he is, there's no reason why he can't easily win this league. And then the other guys at the bottom, let's just say it's not really been their season so far, but you never know, that might change in the final 9 races. And finally, the Constructors' Championship. I'm taking a bit of interest in this at the minute because I'm actually winning it, me and TNR Ule. Although, let's be fair, he is doing most of the work. But we have regained the lead from Alfa Romeo in this championship. McLaren closed the gap in P3 thanks to Alfa's non-scoring race today. Renault holding on in P4, not quite in the top 3 fight, but they are within touching distance. Williams are on a real charge, considering 4 or 5 races ago they were rock bottom. Andreas and Sam Saunders are really bringing them up into the fight, and they probably are actually the favourites to win it based on the form of those 2 drivers. Mercedes not out for either. Rafa and Deng have had some good results lately. And the bottom 4 teams there, Red Bull, Racing Point, have both got 1 driver, so it's a bit difficult for them to put up a challenge in this. Ferrari have only got 1 driver as well, and the Haas boys, I think, have just had the most unlucky season. Ali Rox always seems to find himself in trouble, and Metza, who has only got 1 classified finish this season, so yeah, hopefully Haas can maybe turn it around a little bit in the last few races of the season, maybe make a charge up through the standings and make it look a little bit more respectable. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. As I say, this is not how I normally do these videos, and I've just had to make do with whatever resources I've still got. But hopefully for Belgium next week, we should return to the usual format, and you won't have to listen to my annoying voice for 10-15 minutes. So hope you're enjoying the season so far. I know it's not going out as well as I would have liked it to, but you know, it is an interesting fight at the top in both championships. So hopefully stay tuned, see what happens for the rest of the season. Please do leave a comment. I do appreciate all feedback. Follow me on the PSN and also on YouTube. And I'll see you guys at the next race in Belgium. Take care, guys.